Let's shift focus to the war in Ukraine now, where just a day after pulling its troops out of Snake Island in the Black Sea, Russia attacked.
There are rising costs of living.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DesignX Social 2022 awards ceremony. Thank you, so welcome to all of you here, and thank you so much for being here. We are all very grateful to the members, the jury, the mentors, and the entire UMO team for supporting this initiative and making this a grand success. Quite a few weeks of effort have been put into this entire competition and the journey that the participants have gone through. And ultimately, we were able to shortlist the finalists, and then the finalists yesterday had presented their pitch to the jury, and the jury was able to declare who the winners are. So in today's session, that is our goal, to be awarding the winners with the specific awards and celebrating the work that they've done, the journey they have come so far. And before we get on to that, we would like to bring some of our jury members onto the stage, and they want to share some interesting ideas. They want to share a couple of thoughts about the whole challenge, or maybe they want to also present some key information, ideas, and so on. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to hear out what they have to show and what they have to talk. So we have three jury members who are here today to kind of speak, I would say, for close to 18 minutes and talk to you guys about some very interesting aspects of their work. To begin with, I would like to introduce Udit Khandelwal. He is currently the director of UX design at Athena Health. He's currently joining us from Boston. He's previously worked at Zivame, Kaseya, and Cisco. Udit, thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful to have you on stage with us today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Rohan. Doing great this morning, lovely morning here. I'm gonna jump right in and share my screen. Please let me know once it is visible.
Absolutely. So Udit, while you maybe do that, I would maybe want you to take a minute to maybe talk about your experience being a jury member here at UMO Design the past couple of weeks.
It has been great looking at all the great design work from all over the world. People tackling very interesting problems, solving them in very innovative ways, applying solid design process that I was amazed by. It was super interesting and very tough for me to take a call, even those one number difference
I'm
between
sure.
this versus that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Udit, for being here once again. The stage is all yours.
All right, thanks. So I'm working as Director of UX Design at Athena Health in a subdivision called Platform. It has about 400 folks in the platform. I'm taking care of a couple of zones within that platform. So working with around 10 to 15 designers. So that's my scope, and that's important for the discussion that I'm about to have. So those 400 folks don't report into me, only 15 do. So I'll talk about how to build persuasive designs and systems, more about the systems and less so about the design. Let me take you back to last year, 2021, where I assumed my new role and wanted to make a positive impact in healthcare through design, through Athena Health. But in our subdivision, in our business unit of 400 people, I noticed, that there were certain challenges related to UX maturity, right? We were doing insufficient research, which was low impact in a lot of areas. The collaboration was really disjointed. When I say that, the UX designers and engineers, product owners, they were working in silos. Tech was inflexible, and because of which we were not able to implement a lot of things. Platform deals with 70 plus products, and because of which there are various user personas that we deal with. So our users were largely unknown and hence uninvolved in the process, right? And because of all of this, the product outcomes were really unlinked to the UX outcomes, and they largely remain untracked. So all of these problems denoted that we are really lacking in maturity, and I wanted to attack that very same problem. To do that, I came up with a model inspired from Nielsen's model, where I just wanted these 400 folks, which I had no control on and only influence, to follow 25 ideal behaviors that were exact opposite of what we saw on the previous slide, right? So for example, I wanted the product owners to understand the exact relationship between product outcomes and success criteria. I wanted all of our designers to have enough resources to conduct enough and impactful research, and so on. Likewise, there were 25 behaviors, and in order to implement those across these 400 folks, I had to first prioritize these behaviors and then calibrate all the teams and zones, which are cluster of teams, against these behaviors, like how good or bad are they executing these behaviors, analyze what could be done about it, finally execute upon the action items, and maybe a year or so later, recalibrate to see if we have really made a dent, if we have really improved upon these behaviors and made our journey towards maturity. Right now, I could have come up with any model, this model or that model, or 25 behaviors or 40 behaviors. That's not the point. The point is, if I had to implement this in a team of 400 folks whom I had no control over, but only influence, I had to persuade executives of these 400 folks, the leaders of different zones to take action, executives to drive the strategy to align to what I was proposing, the respondents or the users from whom I needed all of this data, right? Like what behaviors are they currently following and whatnot. And then finally, the disciplines, the UX designers, engineers, and product owners to execute upon what my model was asking them to do. So it all depended on persuading these folks. So I'm going to talk about how I attacked each of these problems through persuasion and through implementing various strategies and principles in place. Right. So let's start with executives who were the vice presidents of these subdivision, and how I obtained the alignment, how I really went ahead and said that this model needs to be followed. Right. So it's our general tendency where we directly jump from an idea or a plan, like the model that I showed, to being an advocate of it, forgetting the steps in between, right? But what you actually got to do is, once you have that plan, once you have that model, you work at your desk to exhibit that it can be done and to exhibit your own commitment towards it. And that's what I did. Like, I worked on it without any strategic alignment for about 2 months, prepared some documents, some desk research, some pilot concepts, right? Did some real work rather than drawing the plan itself, or just drawing the plan itself. And then I started socializing it slowly with those leaders and the executives. Like, hey, I've been working on this idea and this and that, and I see an implication here and there, over lunches, or even over Teams calls, coffee side conversations, and I started getting more and more feedback, and which is when I started adapting. So I started this whole initiative with UX maturity in mind, and I was very focused on this like that. But once I started having these conversations, I adapted the whole thing to be team maturity model, not just UX maturity. So it was now about UX, product, engineering, and not just UX maturity. And that's one of the examples of adaptation. And then finally, at each and every level, reporting out the success, failures to both executives as well as to leaders. Once you do that diligently, that's when these leaders and execs themselves become an advocate, and you don't have to advocate it anymore, right? So they were going into meetings and talking about the model then, and hey, I've seen this really cool thing that is working on, and I think you could be part of it or you could benefit from it. So that's what started happening, right? And then I started getting more and more buy-in from executives. So, and hence expanding my influence from these 15 designers to the entire 400 folks of engineers and product owners and designers. Next comes the leaders. The leaders were, zone leads. Really, they had a direct reporting of about 50 folks across product and engineering, right? And there were various leaders in the entire platform's subdivision. So the strategies that I used then to convince them to start using it, apart from what I mentioned previously, was early involvement and asking what is it that they really wanted, rather than telling them that this is I want your teams to do, which is ultimately what I wanted. But I started with asking what they wanted. And in some cases, they came up with things that were actually not part of my 25 behaviors. And it wasn't even 25 earlier. I started with 28, came down to 18, and then went back to 25. So which was all part of the process. So asking them what they wanted very early on, even before I started, analyzing and sending out the survey and whatnot. And the principles I use there, which I'll exhibit next, is giving them importance, right? By, of course, involving them early, throwing a challenge at them that, hey, I think your team is really lacking in this and that, whereas the other team, the other leader, is actually working diligently towards solving that problem. So giving them the challenge as well as the social proof that the other teams are already working on it while you are not. And then in inducing a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of fear of missing out on a certain thing that is happening subdivision wide, but you are being left out. And that's what I use. So here's an example of that, where so this is just one team out of about I think there are about 60 teams in platform. So export is one of those teams, and I sat down with each and every team trying to do this. So where these behaviors, 25 behaviors, which were bucketed across these 6 buckets, right? Collaboration, research, outcome, quality, system, and user. So conducting enough research, for example, would fall within research bucket. So I asked them, based on their OKRs or objectives, what is it that they think their priority is of the team displaying this behavior, and they marked it medium, high. So I already got a commitment from them for these 3 buckets then, right? Outcome, quality, and user. So if my survey or my model finds a gap in these behaviors, then they got to act upon it. And then their current assessment of where they think their team stands. So again, I kind of got a benchmark that they think the team is high, but if my survey tells that it does not, then there's a problem. And then finally, I asked them whether or not they would want to exclude this from the survey, this particular section. And in most of the cases, I got no as a reply, which is great, because I could ask all 40 questions targeting those 25 behaviors in the survey, right? So, and the survey was sent out to all those 400 folks. I got the insights, and finally I wanted them to take an action, which I'll dive deeper into. But this was my little example of how I did this, right? Important challenge, social proof, and fear of missing out against all teams. And all the teams were able to see what the other teams were doing, right? So finally, comes to the survey. How do I get those 400 folks to respond? It's an internal survey. It's not a mandate from leadership or HR. So how do I get the data from those 400 folks so that I can move forward? I use a very, very simple, stupid strategy, which is basically using the right channel of communication. So rather than just sending out an email, I used Teams chat. How I used Teams chat with 400 folks is using a bot which used to send out a message to a non-respondent that, using these principles, privacy, personalization, importance, and a little bit of authority here, right? Like your leaders are asking you to do this. And what I did not use, and I think will not work in this case, is rewards, like get $10 or 10 points for filling out the survey. That is the worst way to do it, because in that case, at least for internals, you'll get uh, data that is skewed or incorrect. So here's an example of the initial email that I sent out. So giving them a little bit of importance that your team, and personalized, right? Your particular team out of the entire platform has added great value, blah, blah, blah. Your leaders, Mike, Patrick, and Cynthia, whom they know really, want you to fill out this survey, and we will use for this and that, explaining them the exact thing and giving them the survey. And then a little bit of follow-up once I don't get responses with 400 folks, telling them this exact thing. So the message was going out from me, although it was being sent by a bot. So use of technology and use of the right channel really to persuade. Hey, I was looking at Qualtrics data this morning, using the first name, by the way, right? So, hey, I was looking at the Qualtrics data this morning. Notice you haven't responded. Anu, Thiru, and Jesse, which this guy knows, need this data, and blah, blah, blah. The response, yes, sorry about that. I'll fill out the survey today. And this I did like approximately with 400 people, giving me results like this. So an 82% response rate from 400 internal folks. And this is how it used to go. So for every zone, let's say, I send out the survey request over email, it declines, and I'm getting only like 30% response rate. This is where I send out the Teams chat, and I get a response even more than the initial. And even these, are not flattened out. And that's how I was able to get 82% response rate and a data that was really valuable, right? Persuading my users really to respond. So then I wanted my leaders to consume insights, right? Whatever were coming out of these things. So I used smaller groups and really personalized those insights for them. Again, using the same things, comparison, challenge, and a new one, goal and progress towards goal, but not authority. It won't work here. I never said that your manager wants you to do that. It doesn't work with your peers that ways. It doesn't work with the leaders that ways. So here's an example of an insight that came out of the survey. So this is only one of 25 behaviors, and I created a slide of 25 such slides for every team. Right. So this behavior says team understands relationship between product outcomes and success. And where is your team standing here? It's getting an overall score of 69 according to my calculation. And a lot of your product owners actually don't believe that feature is declared successful when product outcomes are met. They believe that it is successful when either code is complete or a feature has gone GA, which is wrong, which gives me a direct action item for their team. And at the same time, highlighting what the entire zone is doing, where your competitor teams are standing, and every leader actually, of course, wants to be in top of the list. So giving them a goal, showing progress towards goal, giving them a comparison, social proof, all of that drives them towards action. Making it super personalized, of course, right? And then how did I get these disciplines? The ground soldiers, UX designers, engineers, and product owners to start executing upon these action items. Simple strategy, give them an easy escape, right? So what I did was I gave them at least 10, 12 action items to act upon, right? This is what my survey is telling you. Your team got to act upon these 12 things if they want to be called as mature. However, for this year, we will do only 2. Now that seems like a very small task as compared to 12, right? I'm using some anchoring there, giving them an easy escape. By the way, my designer has already taken up 2 action items, so you have to take just 2 more, right? So showing some reciprocity over there, showing again comparison, cracking their persona, right? From becoming a no sayer to becoming a yes sayer, right? again showing goal and progress, and then doing it in a repetitive manner, right? Every quarterly check-in. So this is the final example that I wanted to share. So it is one of the initiatives that came out of my larger initiative, where the entire zone is doing KYC, know your customer, but where they are building journey maps for all the things. There are more phases here, but then the point that I want to make is, for everything we have clearly defined what a who the collaborators are, like UX, product, and engineering, and how much is the expected effort from them, and then getting a commitment from their side. So you see how team is now moving from working in silos to working in a collaborative mode towards a shared goal and tracking everything. So that's where the team has actually started showing maturity. And today, I now have across these 400 folks, 64 action items, big and small, that people are acting upon. 2 business unit wide initiatives, right? The platform wide, which all 400 folks are doing. So for example, we are building 70 personas for all our 70 user types that we have. And then 5 zone level initiatives. So one which I showed you an example previously. So we have come a long way in 1 year by implementing these strategies and taking everyone along. Any questions?
Udit, thank you for that amazing talk. I think some great content there, and good to get a insight into how Athena functions. I think that was pretty awesome to see your persuasion to get to the leadership and pitch your ideas to them. Thank you again, Udit, for being here, and we still want to have you here for the awards and so on.
Sure.
I'm sure there would be some more questions as we go. I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for the awards and so on. But again, thank you for being here for this amazing talk, and we'll see you back soon in a bit.
All right, thanks.
Great. Now moving on to the next talk, we have Pranavdatta Natekar, who is currently the Director of User Experience at CGI. Can I please have Pranav on stage? Pranav, I think you're on mute.
Hi everyone. Good morning, good
Hey
evening.
Pranav. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Very good. Thanks for
Awesome.
inviting me.
Thanks, Pranav, for being here. I know you've been part of the jury. You've been through this whole process, so we're very excited to have you here today.
Sure.
I leave the stage to you. Maybe you can start sharing your screen and talk about your ideas and so on.
Sure, definitely. Let me share my screen. Just give me a second.
Okay, so we'll just give Pranav a second to join back. I think he's probably trying to get his screen share going. Meanwhile, I see a lot of people, very enthusiastic people joining the stream. We would request you to start showing your enthusiasm in the comment section, or sharing your questions or asking questions for the jury members who are here, or any questions in general about this entire competition or the DesignX Social. And we also have some very interesting news to share with you through the end of the whole competition. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, okay, I see Pranav is back on. Hey Pranav, are you back?
Yep.
Awesome. Let me, yes, you can go to your presentation.
Sure. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
stage
Sorry
yours,
about
Pranav.
some technical issues. Okay. Okay, so I thought let's share about something this about citizen experience and employee experience. It's the topic is about in the theme is like designing for the crisis and redesign government systems and policies, right? So, being my experience in CGI is more designing. The ERP solutions for the state and local governments in US. So I thought this might be a good, interesting topic to share with everyone how to improve the citizen experience and the employee experience. Okay, let me share. So in the government, if you look at this is the survey done by the McKinsey in 2018, and if you see the top performing industry and blue is the government industry, the way the customer satisfaction is like, if you look at compare the customer satisfaction much below even than the top performing industry in the different countries in the world. So it's not only about certain country, but if you see the pattern is everywhere the government customer satisfaction is much lower in the industry. So how to improve the customer satisfaction, right? So how that is important challenge always. Usually if you look at the industry, the customers or citizens are expecting more transparent, accessible, responsive services from the governments, and their expectations are rising as the pandemic is in already last 2 years people are in pandemic, so their expectations are increasing. Their expectations are having the digital experiences for the government sector as well, and that is required a lot of skilled employees to perform the task in government agencies. That is one of the interesting challenges we see in last few years. The declining in customer satisfaction because of they don't have digital experience. They're eroding the trust because they're not having the right information at the right point of time, and that's a challenge what we see in the government sector. So who are the users in government sector, government applications? So citizens is definitely the primary the users. So then employees who work within the government agencies, deal with the citizens, talk to citizens, and the vendors who work with the government to give the services to the citizens as well. So the ecosystems is between these three different types of users, mostly the citizens, the employees, and the vendors. So these are the important user profiles we see in government solutions. So how do you measure their satisfaction? So you start with start listening what the citizens are saying. What are the most problematic areas? What they find when they're dealing with the government agencies? Let's ask them the questions rather than see how they deal with their day-to-day applications or any government interactions. Measure the dissatisfaction rather than okay, are you happy or not. Just you have to ask them to rank the importance of their different services, what they deal with every day with the government. So you have to ask them to rank those different services, not just whether more of asking whether they like it or not like it, but ask them to rank that, and that helps us to define which is the most important and which is most dissatisfied services they are facing with the government. So if you look at the employees are closer to the citizens always because they deal with citizens day to day. That's the important aspect. So employees plays in a very crucial role even while identifying these pain points. So not just talking to them, understanding their dissatisfaction, but employees can also understand what are their pain points are. To talk to them and get their feelings. Many employees are even very, very highly skilled in this kind of gauging the public satisfaction, how they really deal with agencies, how they deal with the services, government agency services, what are the challenges they are facing. They're very expert in these areas. So the employees are important aspect always when understanding the citizen experience issues or the satisfaction issues. So always combine public feedback. It can be through the social media or different methods. You can get the feedback from from public, but you have to match that with your internal data. What the internal data you have with your ERP systems or applications you have to match that and find out what are the real find out the issues which are important in the government sector. So what are those uncover issues we have to find out when you combine the public feedback as well as some internal data what you have. Customer satisfaction information is definitely like call center volumes, how they call to the call centers, what the number of in-person visits to the government offices, and what the interactions happens in with the employees with the citizen. So that is very important information you get from the employees and the citizen in this area. And then employees has to prioritize areas. Okay, which are the pain point, which are the key areas we need to improve, where are the dissatisfaction with the citizens, and that we have to identify uh, and prioritize that. It's not just to list down all the issues, because there might be hundreds of thousands of issues citizens might be facing, but we have to prioritize. We cannot do everything in one go. We have to prioritize that based on their satisfaction level, where the rank is for the different services what they're facing. So you need to first understand the entire citizen journey, right? So not just what are their issues with the pain point, but identify what are the most pressing journeys what they have in the government when they're dealing with the government. Identify what are the most issues are there. Even identify the journeys which matters most, like which are the 80%, let's say, journey which are very important from the citizen perspective that has an issue. So we have to identify which matters most to the citizens. You need to find out even how the citizens think about their experience, and not with how the government agencies feel that experience. So it's more from the perspective from the citizen and not from the government employees or government agencies. You need to identify how their experiences when you document these citizen journeys. You have to create a map for each journey from the citizen perspective, so you will understand what the pain points are there. Then how to use journeys once you document those journeys, right? So how do you identify which are the internal processes which maps to those journeys? So there might be thousands of or hundreds of user journeys or citizen journeys you might have mapped, but how they're mapped to the internal processes happens within the government. You need to identify those first, and then link those citizen journeys to the internal organization processes which affects most. So you need to not just identify which processes are there, but which affects mostly when you deal with the citizens and deal with the internal organization process as well. So you need to link those and find out which affect the most to improve on. We need to improve that gives you to the information which you need to really improve those business processes or processes you deal with the citizens. And view as an entire journey, not as an individual citizen process what you deal with. You need to think about, okay, which from citizens starts their day interaction with the government and complete their task with the government. So you need to find out entire journey. It may not be just submitting some form, that you should not be fine. But after you submit a form, how you get the form, or how you get the documents, or how you get the information, that's an entire journey you need to identify, and you need to view that as an entirety, not as an individual piece of the smaller chunks within the journey. And define the key operational activities required to improve on. What are the systems, which systems are involved in those different citizen journeys. You identify these from the back end perspective, from the government systems perspective. At each stage, you need to find out in each stage of the interactions from the user journey. So if you look at the customer experience, so what are the key drivers when we do interact with the citizens, interact with the employees, government services or government agencies? So reliability and simplicity is the most important drivers factor, and not even the speed or transparency or professionalism of the employees or responsiveness is not. If you look at that, very pretty low in that percentage. The importance is always reliability, the trust, how you provide the right information to the citizens, and simplicity of your applications, or simplicity of the information what you provide to the different more methods to the to the different agencies. So that's important. The trust, reliability, and the simplicity is the key factor when you deal with the government agencies. So how do you translate that information to the government solutions, right? So manage the scenarios, which preventing, the journeys that are unnecessary. To cut down the information which is, or scenario which is not relevant from the citizen journey perspective. Try to identify those first. cut down the duplicate processes or any actions within in citizen journey. You need to cut down that process and optimize user journeys, or transform those journeys for the solutions perspective. Improve the availability, make sure your information is have to available for the citizens whenever is required. Usability of the systems obviously has to be there, and an accessibility, because in the government systems, accessibility plays an important role for any government solutions. Provide multi-channel communications. As you say, digital experience is in picking up due to the pandemic, so you have to provide multi-channel communications, and preferably the self-service channels as well, because people or citizens started going on self-service sites or on websites or mobile applications to perform their actions or request to the government in the government systems. You have to improve that experience in digital channels by creating the phygital experience. So what do you mean by phygital experience is basically when you're dealing with the government on digital channels, but some citizen visits to the government offices, you have in physical in government offices, you have to make sure that you have to have same experience as a digital channel. You don't have to fill the same forms again or get the information to reiterate the same issues to the government agency. So phygital interactions is an important aspect as well in the government, because you have to map your digital as well as physical channels has to be in sync and improve those experience both together. So the importance of the government ERP solutions, we talked about, what is the importance of like reliability, trust, information, what you provide is accessibility, the simplicity. So employee plays an important role, as I mentioned, in a government agency, because they are talking to the citizens day to day. So we have to provide clear, consistent, courteous explanations and services that therefore those are critical for the citizen satisfaction. That's how you can improve the satisfaction for the citizens. So those are the ERP solutions or back office operations happens are important, equally important for the citizens as well. Important, so in citizen experience is directly related to the employee experience, what you see in ERP solutions. So speed, simplicity, efficiency are always important factors in those ERP solutions. So I just want to quickly give what we have done in CGI. The CGI Advantage is one of the government ERP solutions. So it's a leader in state and local governments ERP in the United States. So we are leading in ERP systems for the state, local, city governments in US. So we have redesigned this CGI Advantage application. We have redesigned, reimagined some mobile first solutions and transformed the entire citizen experience. We streamlined the processes required from the citizen's perspective, the employee perspective, to make sure they have right information at right time. So the deliver solution which is really needed and which is we have removed, which is nothing really required from the citizen's perspective and employee's perspective. So we have designed in such a way that what you need and what you don't need, you need to identify that and build the solutions accordingly. We have done extensive user research and conducted more than 100 plus user research for every stage of the process, from user research to the even beta release. Every stage of the design phase, we have conducted research and identified what are the challenges they are facing, what are the problems they are facing. So we interviewed them. We had focus group sessions, a lot of conferences, and we conducted this feedback from the end users. So how you transformed experience, simple, intuitive, and flexible, and mobile first and accessible. That's the key principle what we have started with. And when we say flexible, because an important aspect is because if you're dealing with different state and local and city governments, your processes has to be so flexible to accommodate and adjust based on every government process, what they have, what the regulations they have, what process they follow in every to deal with the citizens. So that's an important aspect always. We provide a self-service portal for the vendors who can they can register, they update and information, browse and respond. So the self-service portal is always important to deal with the citizens and vendors. Mobile capabilities, as I just mentioned as well, and they can view and information interact with on the go. So this information is important from the citizens' perspective as well. Design the forms pages without a need no need to code as well. So we have kind of designed the application in such a way that is flexible and automate the process. So if the certain government has a different processes, they can change their designs or then their processes without even updating their codes as well. So that's how the process happened. And we integrated even automation as well, like self-learning virtual assistant, where they can assist employees as well as collect information from the citizens, from the vendors and employees, and process the tasks. That's how we improved the user experience for the government ERPs. So that's how we incorporated these processes in CGI ERP solutions. Any questions?
Thank you, Pranav, for that wonderful talk. It was great to see some pretty interesting work in collaboration with the various governments of India. Thank you, Pranav, for being here. Really appreciate you coming here and sharing your work and sharing your ideas with us. Please do stay back. I think we have the award ceremony starting soon, which a lot of people are waiting for. But again, thank you so much for being here.
Sure. Thanks, Ron.
Awesome. So that was a great talk by Udit first and then Pranav. And on to our next speaker, I want to introduce to you all one of our jury members, Wilma Lam. Wilma, she's currently a design leader at Substantial. She's previously worked at Johnson & Johnson, and she's also a host of the Optimistic Design podcast. Wilma, welcome again to UMO and Design X Social.
Hi, Rohan. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Okay.
Yes, your screen is visible. The stage is yours.
Great. All right. Yeah, I know everyone's excited to get to the awards, so I'll be giving a short talk on focusing on rethinking personas, using context to understand user needs. And I think in the previous two talks, both of the other jurors have talked a little bit about doing persona work and insights work. So hopefully this builds on the previous two topics. But just a little bit about Substantial and my work and what led me to this presentation. So Substantial was founded in 2006. It's originally based in Seattle, but these days is actually a distributed team of researchers, strategists, and designers and developers working across North America, and we're a consulting studio. So we do design research and strategy, product design, and full stack development to implement new products and services. And my background in particular comes at the intersection of design, technology, and business innovation. So as a strategy director here, my work focuses on using design research and strategy to design new products and services using human-centered design, and in particular, equity-centered design, both methodologies which I think are especially relevant in the social innovation space, such as the Design X Social Global Innovation Challenge. So kind of to kick things off, as designers and problem solvers, we're often asked to do research to uncover user needs, as mentioned in both of the previous talks. And the purpose of this is to define problem spaces and come up with solutions. And in fact, actually, I was excited to see in a number of the entries which I looked at for this competition that personas were used. And the experiences that I've had with my teams, this can encompass being asked to create personas that kind of represent archetype users, examples including things like, coming and saying, represent uninsured diabetes patients, or personas to represent low performing students, or personas to understand a specific type of employee experience. And so before we get more into this topic of how you rethink personas, I think it's important to also revisit, what does a typical persona kind of look like? And kind of typically as a conceptual representation, they're an amalgamation of user attributes. So typically, designers or researchers are looking at, groups of different users, what we've heard from them, survey results, and you're trying to create representations of what typical users might be. So an example here might have, an image, associated demographics with these users, its user bio, which gives background, as well as showing, some hypothetical motivations, goals, and behaviors that might drive user needs and product teams can go and design against. And personas are meant to provide reliable, realistic representation of key users to help shape service and product offerings. And in many cases, this is a very useful tool, especially if you're reiterating an existing product, or you really understand the challenge space or the solution space really well. But there are also cases where, we've definitely seen this, and our teams or working with other teams, that you've done the research, you're following this persona framework, and then you've taken the personas you've created and you're going back to the users that you originally interviewed to kind of validate, are these accurate? Do they represent the experience? And then you actually will end up hearing from people while I'm reading these, and some of what you have captured in this framework feels right, but other parts don't feel like they really reflect my experience at all. And what you're trying, and so there's this question of, well, what happened? How is it that it doesn't line up? And often what we found is actually that there is a limitation to the framework of a typical user persona. And part of that is that it really primarily can be a reductive sort of static representation, because you're trying to capture a fixed point in time. It's a single sheet. And what it represents is, with a bio and demographics together with goals and needs, is it can also lead to incorrect assumptions between the two, which is especially problematic when you're thinking about, marginalized communities, underrepresented groups, or, as we saw quite a lot in this competition, groups that are experiencing a crisis of some kind. So there's an assumption here that all of these things together are kind of always true, when in reality that we know a lot about the importance of context here, that actually specific contexts are going to change behaviors, they're going to change motivations, they're going to change goals that people have. And so we need to kind of expand the way that we think about personas to be a little bit more context dependent. So as our team kind of has evolved our thinking around personas over time, and are really thinking about, well, how can we advance this framework or create an alternative to this framework that we feel better fits the kind of work that we do and the nuances that we need to present, there are kind of two key questions that we addressed. So one is, how can we move towards building more flexible, nuanced tools that respect multiple contexts and spectrums of experience? And secondly, how can we do this while also ensuring ease of use for product and service teams that need to implement a solution, by focusing on the most relevant information for a particular user group? So considering these questions, our team has developed an approach, which we today kind of call attribute set personas. This centers on the idea of a persona representing not so much a specific set of demographics or even psychographics, but specific sets of needs and experiences that are tied to a specific set of contexts. And I'll go more into what this really means. But I think just to give a little bit of color about how we arrived at this, when we started looking at kind of re-examining personas, we actually went back and we audited all of the design research projects that we've done. And we were looking at examples in industry of how other people are starting to think about changing personas or finding other ways to do this kind of work. And we're really looking to identify themes of what kinds of things actually drive user needs and what is sort of missing from the current persona framework that we need to capture. And one of the things that really came out to us as we started talking in an active research we were doing was the way that users would talk about their experience. So this quote here was from a project we did in education technology, where a student shares, what I feel I need to do good in school changes. Do I like this class? Is the instructor good? Am I working a lot? Does it matter for my goals right now? There's a lot of different things. And what this is really talking about is the context changes that an end user have that impact what their needs and experiences are. And consistent even across different industries and contexts, whether we were looking at research we'd done with parents or pet owners or retail buyers or even employee-facing software. And so what we found after kind of doing all this auditing work is that there's kind of 4 key areas that generally actually influence the needs and experiences of users. So the top left quadrant is actually personal context. So it's how users' personal background, their demographics, their previous experience outside of the challenge area or solution area we're talking about actually will then influence understanding what's happening in the challenge space that we're focused on. So building on education example, is a student in their first year in school? Do they have older siblings who've been in school before them that can guide them? How involved is their family? Do they have financial needs outside of school that are going to impact their ability to participate in school? Things like that. The second quadrant looks at actually the institutional systems at play. Often, I think one of the limitations of personas is we're not looking at the system level. We're looking at personas that are really driven by demographics. So we assume about the user, but in reality, that user experience is often shaped by a system that's that's much larger than them. So in the case of education, you're thinking about, well, what kind of school are they in? How well funded is that school? Is this a big school or a small school? Is it close to them? Is it far away? So also understanding, what is that kind of institution and system around them. And then the third is a situational journey. And really here we're talking about changes over time. So if we're going back to that student example, the needs and experiences of the student, they're going to be very different that first day of class, the middle of the term, or the end of the term. And how do we account and understand for how that evolves over time? And then the fourth would be mindset. So this is very similar to when you're doing personas based on like psychographic information, right? What are the attitudes and beliefs that people bring into a situation that we're solving for? And what's notable is that mindsets can also change. They can change because of the point in the situational journey they're in. They can change because their personal context has changed, or they can change because they're in a different institutional system than they were before. And so what we do when we're applying this kind of framework is, in any challenge that we're looking at and trying to understand users, we first start by thinking, okay, what are these 4 quadrants in this particular problem space? How does that apply? And then we start to identify, okay, what are the set of attributes in each of these contexts that could then be influencing the needs and experiences of users? And then this framework, I know, looks a little bit abstract, so we're going to actually jump into a quick example of how this actually gets applied. And then we'll also talk about how we try to like validate and refine this approach with end users to make sure that you don't end up with the situation I shared before, where at the end of the day, you come back to users and they say, actually, this isn't representative of my experience. So the example scenario we're going to talk to quickly is, imagine that our team's been asked to redesign the maternal health experience to improve patient outcomes. And we're asked to create personas with the goal of understanding what is driving poor maternal mortality and maternity care outcomes, in this case, in the United States, where Substantial is based. And this is certainly a multifaceted issue, right? And that's part of what makes this framework work well, is when you're looking at, ecosystems of context and needs and gaps, which are especially complex and have a lot of factors that are involved, as is the case with maternal health. An approach that we might take to this space is first, like the typical design process, you're grounding yourself in secondary research, you're understanding the maternal health space. You're probably going to be doing a series of interviews or co-creations or sessions with pregnant people to understand the actual qualitative experience. And then you're probably rounding that out with additional context interviews with healthcare professionals to really understand at the system level, what is happening. And what we're doing with all of this information is we're starting to frame out in our minds, okay, well, what contexts are at play? What is the personal context of patients outside of the healthcare system that impacts their pregnancy outcomes and experience? What are the healthcare systems or types of institution, types of hospitals or clinics that are involved in patient experience? And what is that situational journey? So what are the distinct kind of milestones or stages during pregnancy that change the needs and experiences of people who are pregnant? And then mindset, are there different attitudes and beliefs towards pregnancy that shape expectations and needs for people that are going through this experience? And how this really starts to come to life is when you start to actually categorize the different kinds of attributes. So coming out of this research, and because this talk is short, I'm not going to go in depth into each of this, but we're going to look at, the personal context. So, does a person have personal support at home? Do they have family or partner that's helping them? Are they a first-time parent? Are they older? Do they have financial concerns or access to healthcare concerns that are going to influence their experience within the healthcare system but actually exist outside of it as kind of personal context? There's the institutional system. And in this case, there are probably a couple of different ways to do it. We could have done it based on like healthcare center. Is it a big academic hospital? Is it a community clinic? Something like that. In this case, we actually focused on what we heard more from patients, which is actually kind of how they categorized it, is kind of highest level of care as being super supportive, relationship-based care, through to what they consider to be kind of reactive care. So healthcare systems that only help the patient basically if they're pushing and asking for support, as kind of like the institutions that are in play. And then situational journey. So understanding the different moments in time over pregnancy. So from trying to conceive through the 3 trimesters, through the delivery and postpartum, and those kind of milestones. And then lastly, we also looked at what we had heard in our research around mindsets. So some people during pregnancy, especially at different stages, are very experience oriented. So, I want to really be in the moment, really experience my pregnancy. Some are much more knowledge oriented, give me all the information so I can make the right choices. And then third, you have milestone oriented, where they're really focused on where they are in that situational journey and focus on like specific goals that they have. And of course, these mindsets can change, especially if the other contexts are changing. But ultimately, what we're trying to put together is a hypothesis of like, what are all of these attributes that are at play that could influence needs and experience within this kind of like really complex like ecosystem that we're dealing with within maternal health. And then what we do is we take each of these attributes and we actually turn them into an individual card that kind of looks at them individually, and it has an overall description of what is this attribute. We try to capture like a quote within it that we heard from a user that like helped us to drive towards deciding that this was an important attribute. And then it will capture experiences or goals related to the attribute. And most importantly, each of these is associated with a set of needs that you can solve against when it comes to like the product design or service design component that we'll do after research. And then once we kind of have all of these cards drafted and in place, what we start doing is actually bringing back users to do co-creation. And this is the important part, to like make sure you don't end up with that conversation at the end where users are coming back and saying like, oh, this doesn't actually represent my experience, which then means it's not actually really usable for product teams to be able to design against. So what we do is like we take all of these cards and we share them with users, and then we ask them, do these cards feel accurate to you? If you had to select a different set of cards to represent your particular experience, what would you choose? And so in this case, we've done this with this example, and we have a quote, somebody talking about their early pregnancy experience saying, I chose limited personal support because it took time to figure out how my family and partner could help me. I selected increased maternal age because I'm over 35. And I was originally at a local birth center, but wasn't getting the information I wanted, where they're really speaking to a reactive kind of care experience. And they had also selected a knowledge-oriented card, as like they're really focused on just gathering information at that point in time. So for us, part of what's validating about doing this is, end users actually able to select cards that they feel like represent them. And then as you work with like larger groups of users and have them actually select different cards, it tells you, okay, what is kind of the pattern here of cards that are being selected? And then you can also work with product teams to be like, well, which of these cards can you actually solve for with product or service that they're developing? Maybe it's not all of them, so let's focus on which sets are really the most useful for the challenge that we have at hand. And then the other thing we do is, the fact that these cards are really full. So we would ask users also to select cards that are an earlier point in your experience. Can you select cards that represent your experience? Change. And what that allows us to do is into apply to a specific one, and then to work with product teams to really talk about what's most relevant. Are you solving for that early experience, solving for this other later experience? Priorities that you need to make, or are there needs and engagements that haven't been identified by product team? Using these cards that you should really be considering. And important are going to do as we get into solutioning, and also really just to make sure that we're not missing any major needs, or that that what we're designing for isn't even reflective of the core user experience. And it's really helped our teams to really handle like complex systems that we're trying to create solutions for, to have a much better understanding of what are the pieces of the system and how do they influence what we need to understand and what we need to solve for. And this is especially true when we're talking about systems like education and healthcare and other sorts of environments that often intersect with social innovation in particular. So that is my quick talk. Overall, there's kind of 3 takeaways for this talk for people out there that are probably looking at personas or thinking about personas. I'd really ask you to rethink the situation in which you're asked to create personas by first, looking at personas really as more of a flexible spectrum of attributes rather than a fixed representation, where once you've created the framework, that's kind of like the full representation of the user. The second would be to define attributes based on understanding how they shape user needs and experiences in particular. So actually disaggregating attributes rather than looking at them all together and assuming that they're all related. And third, it would really be to partner, and this is probably the most important one, partnering with end users to define attributes and develop the attribute sets. This doesn't necessarily have to use the framework that I just walked through today, but I think it's especially useful just to go back anytime you're doing persona or insights work and bring users back that you've interviewed, and don't always assume that what you've heard is actually accurate to what they thought that they shared. And this is just going to ensure that the work is going to be useful going forward. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening to this talk. If you'd like to connect more or learn more about this, you can always email me or visit the Substantial website, where you also find the podcast where we talk more about these subjects. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Wilma. Thank you so much for that amazing talk. It was great, and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think we'll be kind of now moving to the next sort of session. So we'll be calling you back on stage in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Wilma. So great set of talks to kind of start our award ceremony today. I think some very interesting talks, some ideas that were shared, and from some really interesting people. And we had similar such people be a part of our jury, evaluating all the submissions, all the work that you've done so far, talking to the participants here. Now I think it's time where all of this comes together. Bear in mind that this piece is just one small piece of the entire competition, where we'd be awarding the win, recognizing the merit that the idea has through that process and evaluation criteria that we set up. But the larger picture is we're all here to do some good for the community, do something great for the world, and create some social impact. So all of you who's joining us, please show some enthusiasm and show some love to the winners and to all the participants, in fact, and there's going to be a lot more to follow. Let's kick off this award ceremony now officially.
DXS22 Social Awards Ceremony 2022. Introducing your host, the one and only Rohan Tridhar.
Thank you so much, team, for that amazing intro to this session. We've officially kicked off our award ceremony for 2022. It's going to be super exciting. With us today, we have some very great set of folks who've enabled this whole competition and this whole team from UMO. So to begin with, I would firstly like to bring jury members on the stage, starting with Udit, then Pranav, and then Wilma. Thank you, Udit. Thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to stay with us for this award. Pranav and Wilma, welcome back again. I would also like to bring together the rest of the EOMO team, starting with Ranjit, who's the co-chair, is also heading design at Informatica from San Francisco. Hey, Ranjit. And I would also like to bring up Shyam, who's heading design at Nutanix from San Francisco as well. Finally, I would like to call upon Karadhar Babu, who's the chairman of EOMO Design and one of the key members initiating all of these. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining with us today. So before we head on and give away some awards and have some fun, I think it's important to talk about the journey that all the participants, the mentors, the jury, and so far, and also maybe talk about what is also coming up next. So maybe Babu, would you like to, Babu and Ranjit, maybe talk about what the winners can expect out of this next couple of minutes? What are the awards? What are the categories? How's the whole process and things like that?
Yep. So thank you, Rohan, and thank you, the speakers and the jury and the mentors who've been helping us celebrating our 10th year DesignX Social Awards. So you see that our team is here, Sham, Ranjit, and rest of the team is in the back end. We worked almost like 20 hours a day to make this possible. And the best part is we have received almost like 1,500 entries. And we've done a lot of filters. Maybe Ranjit, you can share about the filtering process and also the transparency you have done. So before we go with that, so we actually had teams joining from 28 countries, and some of the people who are looking for teammates. So we actually have a combination of people from different continents, so that they learn from each other. So also the way we have designed the whole program is not just to create beautiful wireframes or visual designs. So if you see that we have two aspects. One is identifying the problem to solve. That's an urgent problem to solve. And every year we have wonderful theme. This year is like design for crisis. And we have this teams, 4 categories where we have some of them are designers and some of them are professional designers. And we wanted to give a fair chance to non-designers from engineering or tech or business schools. They joined as non-design category, and also citizens as well, people who have got a lot of innovations, ideas. So they don't have to be good at making wireframes or creating using tools, but they have wonderful ideas. So in the process, some of them are trained and some of them are not trained. So we wanted mentors to help them, taking them through the process. We had around 3 weeks. Complete journey was 3 weeks, and they've gone through the design thinking process, research, rigorous research, and also they identified problem areas, and we actually done helping them to rewrite the problem statements and filtered them. And again, they went for creating solutions. They were asked to create 3 minutes of video. I know that not just only the backend team, the teams, the kind of hard work they've put in. And I'm going to ask you guys, as a jurors, we also seen that. We're going to discuss about it. And then we have done 2 rounds of jury. The first round, again, we filtered some of those good entries and then shortlisted for the live jury, which we have done only yesterday. We have finished that live jury. And then finally, we are at announcement of winners. We have 3 categories of prizes. One is the best awards and people choice, and also the jury choice. So I would like to ask Ranjit, what is the process? What do you can you explain to us?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think, well explained, Bapu. Thank you very much for doing this. And I just want to tell a couple of things to the entire audience here. So identifying a design problem is a bigger problem than solving a problem. That's very, very, very key. And whereas really appreciate each and every participants and mentors, this shows up in terms of how well they've really deeply thought about the problem statements in terms of what are the urgent needs. Number 2, interaction with the mentor and the teams. Probably the collaboration, it was really exciting in terms of how well they are collaborated and how well they're challenging each other's. Right? That was really, really appreciable. And third, it's not about winning or it's not about losing. It's all about Did we identify a great problem? Did we solve it? Did we gone through the process? That itself is a winning thing, because in this process, each and everyone, I'm sure, has learned a lot. And coming to the jury part, right? This is meticulously planned design awards. We were actually doing awards from over 10 years, and we are learning and we are improving every time. And this is done in a very transparent way. You can see number of jurors, right? Many number of jurors. And offline jury where shortlisting happens, it's a combination of relative scores, right? That way you get, like, you pick the best of it. And same with the online jury in front of you, the pitch decks which teams present online, and the teams and the jurors actually rate it. So it's a very, I would say, like, it's not that easy, you guys, to come to here and coming to the participating in these awards and also winning the awards. So I would say, like, we would again thank all the mentors, all the participants, all the jurors to really contribute to your efforts for DesignX Social 2022.
So I also would like to ask Shyam about the theme. Shyam, if you are available, I would like to know about the theme, like how you actually, what kind of way we brainstormed and finally came to a theme that which is really important. So why don't you share some insights about it?
Yeah, well, for sure. If again, just to add more to what Ranjit mentioned, is I think our goal has always been is how can we keep our community not just engaged, but also have this sense of contributing to the larger community out there, right? So, I mean, we are all designers at the end of it, but then over the years, we have been we've been organizing various contests, and especially for this award, this theme has evolved over the past years, and then every time we try to keep it relevant. So this time, as we are emerging out of the past 2 to 3 years of pandemic and all those, and then we have been seeing lots of crises around us. It was on one side, you might feel that it's an obvious choice, but then the pain that people are suffering, it's quite deep rooted, and then we are seeing, as designers, we are seeing things closely, or we might have been seeing these things remotely through various media and all that stuff, and then that's how this theme came about. As in, why can't we keep it broad enough and open enough for our designers, no matter from which part of the world they are participating? Let them be free to pick the crisis that they're seeing around them, right? So unless and until you are closer to it, unless and until you relate to it, you won't be able to come up with the right problem and then solve it later eventually, right? So that's how kind of we came up with designing for crisis as a theme, and we are seeing great results across the board. And then let's celebrate this, right? So as we announce the winners, we will be able to see what exactly they've done, and we have showcased all the entries on the website as well.
So I would also ask Wilma, how's your experience actually when you are going through, you are as a juror? You're in mute.
Yeah. I mean, the experience was great. I think, as Ranjit mentioned earlier, like a big part of it is just identifying the right challenge. And I was pleased to see the variety of challenges that different teams brought to the table, and like the thoughtfulness that they had around the context of those experience and the human needs, and I think the real research that they put into understanding what are people's experiences and how can we do more to help. And then on the solution side, what I really loved seeing was a variety of solutions that came into play. Some people expanding beyond kind of UX and digital, but also considering, behavior change and larger systemic things that need to be changed in order for solutions to be implemented. So that was really cool.
Great. Wilma, were you in an offline jury or live jury?
I was in the offline jury.
Okay, great. So Udit, any insights from your experience?
I was amazed at seeing how different teams came together, right? So they were using a number of tools collaborating in the virtual environment as well. I saw someone posting this screenshots as well of that. So it was so amazing how they are overcoming challenges of the physical world, still trying to come together, solving a real problem, right, and feeling for it, and then taking it all the way to an implementable solution. Kudos.
Great. How about Pranav? What's your experience?
Yeah, it's really really good to see the what kind of the challenges they have look into that. And then based on last few years, everyone is facing the pandemic. So especially I've seen many designs or some designs which they came up with for the kids or school kids as well in flood areas. So they're interesting areas they have gone through. And I'm not saying any design is bad or good, but the way they approach, the way they have done the research and they came up with the solutions for that, and every design is actually go to the market. So it's like they have done a tremendous effort in that and make sure they have done good work to make sure that is really go to the market product. And it's really good efforts what they are putting is really hard, I will see. And I'm definitely giving all the best to everyone. Make sure their products are successful, even they are not winning in the juries or even in the competition, but they're still winning in their life, I guess.
I think wonderful. I think you're right. So when you are looking at the jury sheet, the winner and the runners up, all of them are winners.
Same. Yeah.
What do you think, Ranjit? Like very minute points different, but we have to select one of the winners out of the lot. But don't get disappointed, guys. The campaign is not in there.
It's again like Bapu said, right? Many of you guys are almost like very tight competition. It's fraction of some points, because the scoring will be it's a weighted average of 9 different jurors, right? And there is nothing like winning or losing. It's all about celebrating, guys. Okay, and I'll tell you a couple of things. Seeing all these awards over years is, we see that even the non-designers are actually created a beautiful design specs. The quality of design, whether it's visual design, whether it's interaction design, whether thinking about the usability and the principles used, were really uplifting. And that's really motivating for all of us, because that is the whole intent of us to start this and basically promoting design to uplift the whole design thing. And I would say ideas are really good, whether winning or losing. Go and look at all the entries. There are wonderful ideas there, so we should appreciate everyone who has participated.
Okay, and the most important thing is, I think we already been announced, we wanted to start the new initiative, UMO Experience Labs, wherein you don't have to be winner, but we will be going through all the qualified entries, and then we will be choosing a couple of entries to incubate them. And we already have lined up investors lined up, and they're showing a lot of interest in some of the ideas. We'd like to connect with you, with the investors, and see that how we can actually make sure that it is not stopping at this awards and stopping it on the web page. It also should take the productization,
giving idea to life.
Yeah.
So that's where design become live only when it gets.
You want to add anything on the labs part of it?
Oh yeah. So to keep it brief without taking too much time. So labs essentially, I think it's our way of incubating these ideas and offering the support to all the people who have participated, people with background in design or no background in design. At the end of it, ideas what matters. So labs is going to ensure that we will take it and then offer any support that is needed for these ideas to bring them to life, right? So please be on the watch out for that.
Sure. Rohan, no.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you all for all your thoughts and insights. I think people are very excited and waiting and looking forward to the next part. So to quickly just give you a walkthrough of how the next couple of minutes are going to go. The awards are going to be given based on the award type. So the best design awards across four categories will be given first. Then you have your special jury. Then you have the People's Choice, and then the Best Mentor Award, and then so on. So that's the way things are going to go. So let's start with the Best Design Awards. And let's start with the first category, which is the business and enterprises category. Shall we have the nominees, please?
The nominees for businesses and enterprises category are Team Design Thinkers, Team Socio Design, Team Vectorite, Team Galaxy UX Studio, Team Hellfire.
Great. So, Bapu, I'd be inviting you to give away this first award. But before we do that, quickly, so this is the business and enterprise category, and there was some very tough competition here. A lot of professionals with a lot of UX experience. So, what are your thoughts on the people who've read so far?
Yeah. So this is again, I think business and enterprise means designers, professional designers actually participated in this category. Some of them designers and combination of business analysts, technologists, some different companies. It's like not just from only one company, but a combination of from resources, or maybe I can say participants from different companies. They came together and participated, and you've seen that the quality of entries. I think you guys have seen at least like 5 to 10 entries being given to each juror. Definitely, it's a tough call to take. So, okay. So, do you see that we think we should time for announcing the award?
Yes, I think it's time to announce the winners for the Best Design Award for the Business Enterprises category. Let's
Okay.
have the winner, please.
Sure. So let me take the privilege. Okay. So, any guesses, guys? You want to keep your guesses in your comments? Anybody wants to do that? Who could be the winner? I think you've seen the nominees. Let's try it out.
Finalists, just go and create some buzz finalists if you're there.
So this award goes to Socio Design. The project is Essentials for Living, and the team who worked on this is Puneet Chikara, Trinad Ravilanke, Abdul Kader Sheikh, Shivani Thumaluru, Kavya Reddy. Congratulations, guys.
Congrats, guys.
Great round of applause.
Hi UMO, I am Trinad from Team Socio. For the 2022 version of UMO, we chose the topic called Essentials of Living. I, with a team of my 5 members, we actually have chosen this topic just because we wanted to solve an actual problem in a real world. Apart from doing some sort of basic prototyping, we actually did a lot of research, like how we can actually help a lot of people who are suffering with lack of essentials. We have conducted a lot of user interviews, and in the process, we came to know there are a pretty big numbers which are actually in need of the essentials. Out of that research, we plotted our solution in a user-centric way, which is actually a qualitative approach we chose rather than a quantitative approach. And our solution is something which is pretty much inspired by the UPI network, where the number of transitions is the success rate of the entire app. And our app is something where we wanted to encourage first-timers to donate a lot and help the needy in a better way. Thanks for the opportunity.
Congrats, guys.
Congrats to Team Socio. Great work and a great testimonial. Thank you so much, Team Socio. And you guys deserve this. Please do have a lot of fun showcase. Proud of this award. Let's move to the next category, which is the professional design category or the Best Design Award. For this, I would like to invite Shyam onto the stage. So Shyam, these are folks who come from various backgrounds, who do different sorts of things in their life and in their day-to-day work. So what are your thoughts about people winning the Best Design Award under this category?
Absolutely. I think this is one segment wherein being from Yomo.org Foundation, right? So I think this is why we have created this thing in the first place to take design to not just designers but also non-designers, because there is a lot of talent out there, and then this category has been created especially for bringing in ideas from people directly who are seeing these problems firsthand, experience these problems, and then we just want to empower them with design so that they can solve these problems firsthand by themselves, right? So it's been so heartening to see a lot of wonderful ideas coming out of this particular segment over the years, and then it's my privilege to announce this award for this segment.
Oh, wait.
This year's
Let's see the
conference.
nominees first.
Let's see the nominees.
Okay.
The nominees for professionals and citizens category are Team Fantastic Four, Team Ignators, Team All for One, Team Fifth Dimension, Team Nighthawks,
Great. So we have the nominees. So it's time for announcing the winner for the Best Design Awards in the Professional and Citizens category. Shyam.
Great. Again, I think there was some fantastic ideas coming out of this. So I'm going to say this much, right? So this is a team that has come up with an interesting and innovative solution to provide an end-to-end emergency response service to simplify and speed up the process of rescue and relief operations during floods. I guess by now this team knows who the winner is. So the winner in the Professionals and Citizens category is the Team All for One for their project Alatera. So I would like to congratulate Ankita Chandavarkar, Ankur Kale, Gauri Mullapattan, Aditya Nataraj, and Bhuvana Shankar for their great work. Congrats, guys.
I'm Bhuvana from Team All for One. My team and I participated in the DesignX Social Challenge for the first time this year in the Citizens and Professionals category. We had a great learning experience through this competition because we had a mentor to guide us throughout the process. We would like to thank UMO for this amazing learning opportunity and for this opportunity to showcase our ideas through this platform.
Great.
Congratulations
once
to
again.
All for One. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shyam, for that. So let's go to the next category, which is the design school category. And I would like to ask Ranjit to maybe talk about a few points here.
See, design schools is always like, they are designers, and this is a very, very tough category again, I would say. And the interesting part is, Rohan, this time we have many design schools participation across the globe. If you look at this thing, and the interesting part is their mentors are different part of different countries, and the teams are also not necessarily all from the same design school. There are combinations of students who are actually from various design schools, and they form the very interesting groups from various design backgrounds, whether it's visual design, whether it's interaction design. So they formed, I think one thing which I really like, the whole team compositions, how they are made. And that really shows up in their outcomes. Very interesting.
Absolutely. Some great work
And-
here. So
And interesting thing is, so there are a lot of professionals in the call. They can also see that their outcomes are really production quality. And that part makes it really interesting.
absolutely, absolutely. So the young designers are giving a challenge to all the senior
course.
professionals out there. Great. So let's have the nominees for Best Design Award for the Design Schools category.
The nominees for Design School category are Team Elevate, Team Wearamask, Team The Core 4, Team Two-Way, Team Quadrant,
All right, this is a good time to reveal, but I will hold this a little bit. Let them have a deep breath, all the design students. Should we open? Are you
Yes,
guys?
please, Ranjit.
I think I cannot hold
So
them.
Ranjit, before you open, I was actually there in the live jury room there, and actually I don't know the result, but all of them, all five were really good. Okay, so and it actually creates a lot of tension to me to know that which one, because all of them were good. Actually, I even asked for actually like asking questions during the presentation. Their answers were really good, and but let's see what jury has decided finally.
Exactly. Even I'm also super excited for this, and also super. I don't know. I'm nervous on this. Check this. All right. The winner goes to wear a mask. This is a project which it makes is a wear a mask kit project called Mask It. It's a health kit registration, and the team members are Mehu, Yochin Zin, Nicholas Joe. A big round of applause for all these team members and the winner.
Great. Congratulations to team Wear a Mask. Great work done. Great showcase.
And I would also ask everyone to, all the participants, go and look at the videos because these are really interesting.
Yeah, in case so far the nominations, some of them still not at one, right? Some of them actually like whether deciding whether to leave this call or not, wait for it because we have jury awards as well. So you could be the winner.
Absolutely. I think there's special jury People Choice Award as well coming up. So stay tuned to the end of the session to hear out who the winners are. Moving on to the next category, we have the Other Institutes category for the Best Design Award. And I would like to invite Udit to give away this particular award. Udit, so the other institutes are essentially students who don't come from a design background. And I think if you've seen some of their work, I'm sure you have, they've showcased some great potential in actually solving these real world problems through the design thinking process, through mentorship guidance, and so on. So, your thoughts on that?
Coincidentally, this is my favorite category. I'm myself a designer from who has never been to a design school. Uh, uh, I got my training only from professional classes and things like that. So yeah, great potential here. And like I said, my favorite category. This is where the best ideas come from.
Absolutely. So let's have the nominees, please.
The nominees for Other Institutes category are Team SEER, Team Design Air, Team Kinoe, Team UXLA, Team 70.
Right. Udit, on to you to announce the winner, please.
All right, here's the little suspense. And the winner is Team UXLA for the project My Choice. Congratulations, guys. We have Samar Brashir, Fontana Yi, Derek Wang, Preeti Tamhankar, and Kelly Trong. Amazing job, guys.
Great, thank you. So that concludes our Best Design Awards for 4 of these categories. So some great work, some great ideas, and congratulations to the Best Design Award across all the 4 categories. It's now time for the Special Jury Award. Maybe Ranjit, it would make sense to maybe talk about what the Special Jury Award is and what is the process involved behind jury members nominating for this award?
So, well, this is one of the interesting award categories. For example, let's say because all these nominations, all these entries are very, very close to each other, very tough. This is an opportunity for jury to actually give their favorite, even though someone has not get to the final winner, right? So this is a good opportunity for the jurors to give away. So the process is very simple. So same the way they do the whole jury for rating for each of them, they mark special jury award, and it's the same process again in terms of the most number of jury members rate the entry gets the special jury award. That's the process.
So this award has a lot of merit, a lot of favoritism from the jury. So let's go to the first category, which is the business and enterprise category. Pranav, I would want to invite you to give away this award. If you have any thoughts to share, please do.
Sure, definitely. I think it's really interesting to see the business and enterprise category, the way the Bapu shared earlier as well, the first award. But I think this is jury award, as Ranjit is saying, is very special award because they're really putting some effort in, and I can see the examples what they have actually done on different solutions in business and enterprise domain. So I think really looking forward who is the winner is as well.
So shall we look at the
Awesome.
nominees again?
Yeah.
Yes, please, nominees.
The nominees for businesses and enterprises category are Team Design Thinkers, Team Socio Design, Team Vectorite, Team Galaxy UX Studio, Team Hellfire.
Pranav, over to you to announce.
Any guesses? I'm from Mumbai, and Mumbai seen in July 28% rise of those cases. So any guesses on that? What would be the winner for this award? So it's a vector ride, the project solving for the dengue epidemics. The team is Lovish Bandwal, Asim Saini, Pranoti Sonaune.
Congrats to the team.
Congratulations to the team. Thank you, Pranav. Let's move to the next category, which is the professionals and citizens category under the special jury award. I would like to invite Wilma to the stage to give away this award. Wilma, you've been part of the entire process. So what are your thoughts being here at the last day and giving away the awards?
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful just to see like the entries from the beginning and how many there were, and then watch them go through the nomination process, and then today be able to announce the finalists and get to like acknowledge like all the great work that they've done. And then for this category in particular, you know, it was cool to see the professional and citizen category because it involves both people like doing this work in practice, but also like citizens that are talking about issues that are like really close to their heart and their experiences in the entries here.
So
great. Let's have the nominees.
Okay.
The nominees for professionals and citizens category are Team Fantastic Four, Team Igniters, Team All for One, and Team Fifth Dimension, Team Nighthawks.
All right. Well, it was awesome to see all of the nominees and then to announce the winner. So the winner is Fantastic Four for their project delivering medical supplies to war zones, emergency Ukraine. Team members were Larissa Gomez, Felipe Montiero, Valentina Marzano, and Andrew Chen. Congratulations.
Awesome. So thank you, Wilma, for that, and congratulations to Team Fantastic Four. Moving on to the next category, which is the design school category, I would like to bring Sham back onto the stage to give away the award for the special jury design schools.
So would you like to roll the nominations? Go on.
Sure. The nominees for design school category are Team Elevate, Team Wear a Mask, Team The Core 4, Team Two Way, Team Quadra,
Great, good to see all these things. Rains, flooding, and the nuisance caused by all that, especially in the urban areas. So this team has come up with a solution to help tackle this and manage this problem. So the winner for this category is the team Core 4. I would like to congratulate Valerie Natekar, Mamika Das, Purva Kadam, Archis Kulkarni for your great work. Congrats, guys.
Congratulations to Team The Core 4 on winning the Special Jury Award for the Design Schools category. The next category is Other Institutes. Can we have the nominations for that, please?
So, who's going to announce this?
Ranjit, I would want you to maybe give away this one.
Yep.
Okay, so shall we see the nominees?
The nominees for Other Institutes category are Team SEER, Team Design Air, Team Kinoe, Team UXLA, Team 70.
And the winner is, this is the team actually innovated something in the areas of blood donation, which is very key, right? So especially in terms of solar collaboration and how to donate and also how to deliver it. And the team name is Designer, and the project is called Rudira. And the team members of Harsh Kumar, Jayant Agarwal, Ayesh Dash, Siddharth Das, and Jyoti Mishra. Congratulations, team.
Thank you, Ranjit. Congratulations to Team Designer for winning the Special Jury Award under the Other Institutes category. So that also concludes the Special Jury Award category of our design ceremony today. The next award that we would like to give away, there's only one award here, which is the People's Choice Award. And I would like Bapu to maybe talk about the process of nominating the People's Choice Award before giving away and things like that.
So I think you have seen the way we discussed in the intro, right? Like how we have planned identifying the urgent problem and then identify a solution for it, and also how to work within the team, and also how do you interact with mentor, and within that short period of time, how do you actually follow the process at the same time coming up with the solution. And in the jury, I think live jury, they also learned to pitch. They had given only 7 minutes to pitch, and I know that, right? It's a kind of a funnel. Right? You have so much of research done and so much to talk, but you are actually given 7 minutes to present the whole thing. That's how these finalists actually had to go through, and then we've seen best awards and also the jury special jury award. And we also felt that as a designer, you should also able to communicate, or you should also able to market your idea. So the people choice is who actually gets that their project to be viewed by maximum number of people. So we try to see that by number of hours. I think there are 4 or 5 projects for like it was like neck to neck. I think this project, the awardee who actually had their video viewed, just 3 minutes video viewed around 2,000 hours. So this guy, this team gets this award. So shall I announce it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I'm sure like these 4 or 5 teams are very excited, almost like 4 teams are like neck to neck. It's like one team goes up and then another team. Then we had to take a screenshot of like, okay, at this 11:59, I've actually closed that, and the winner is.
I'm curious, Babu, who is trending?
There are a lot of comments coming up, but okay, let me announce it so winner is UZ Life project fighting the climate crisis with an intelligent platform for home gardening. The team is Zihong Li, Mai Chi Nguyen, Zinzong, David Shen, Nando Thi. Hope excuse me for not pronouncing your names properly, but you are the winners. Okay, so congratulations, guys.
Congratulations to Team UG Life.
Yeah, so let's see. But this is a great idea. Actually, we were reviewing that idea, not just only we didn't go by, the number of hours. The idea was also a wonderful idea. It was really, it's a kind of, you can make that as a startup itself. That's a kind of quality that entry got.
That's the reason I think a lot of people were viewing that, Bapu. It's the whole thing.
Yep.
Great. So thank you, Babu, for that People's Choice Award. So just to kind of,
I want to ask you one question. Like a lot of mentors actually spend their time and help the teams, and we also got feedback, right? We also received very good feedback, but this year we have a special award for Best Mentor Award, and it's not easy to select because most of the teams actually won prizes, but out of that, if you have to select one mentor, so what kind of parameters we have to apply? We have gone through the feedback from the teams and the kind of time they have invested on teams. So do you have anybody?
Absolutely. I do. So in fact, I think we've just given away 9 awards to all participants, and I know participants are the core of this entire competition. They are the ones that are generating all these ideas and trying to solve some of the most important problems that we are facing today. But one of the key aspects of this competition that we do, the DesignX Social, is there's also a lot of learning for all the participants who are here, not just through mentors, but also through interacting with the jury members, through interacting with the UMO team members, interacting between each other, and so on. And a lot of these cogs coming together only make the whole ecosystem and machine work. And I think mentors have always been a great part of UMO and have been very important and crucial for us to succeed. So this year, we are giving away the Best Mentor Award. And this award is actually collected based on the feedback form that we've circulated to all the participants, and them actually giving us their written feedback and voting on different aspects of the entire mentorship process. So a great thanks to all the mentors who've been part of this. I'm sure everybody's done great work, significant amount of time and effort. But let me go ahead and talk about the person winning the Best Mentor Award for the DesignX Social 2022 edition is Jolly Paramjit. Jolly, if you're there, congratulations to you. The teams have voted you as the best mentor, and I'm sure they had a great time working with you and being a part of this entire process. So congratulations, Johnny.
Right. So, Sham, do you think we can actually, like all the winners, do you think we should ask them to present somewhere?
Absolutely, absolutely. I know what you're hinting at. I guess, our community, closely knit community, they pretty much know what's going to come next from UMO, right? So there is a big event just around the corner, and we are going to have not just the winners but all the interesting entries. I mean, at the end of it, you don't necessarily have to win, right? So any good idea, any team that is interested in sharing the ideas, we do have UX India 2022 coming up. So that's where we would like some of these brilliant ideas, as well as any teams that are interested enough to come and present. We will have this platform for us to present these ideas.
Great.
So you want to add something to it?
Yeah. So we are actually coming back to in-person conference after 2 years of remote conference, and this is our 18th annual conference, India's biggest conference on user experience design, UX India. So which is going to be celebrated on 4th, 5th of November at Hyderabad. So we would like to invite all of you, jury, mentors, everyone to be part of it. And of course, there is a speaker still open, speaker submissions. Please make sure to submit your talks for curation. And at this situation, like we have best awards, 4 categories. We would like to have them as part of the conference to present their presentation. We'll give them a time slot and we'll be in touch with them, and they'll be presenting at the conference. Yep. Rohan.
Absolutely. I think we're very excited with the fact that UX India is back with an in-person format after 2 years of doing it online. And DesignX has always been an integral part of the UX India conference every year. And we're very thrilled and overjoyed to see the kind of enthusiasm and support from the design community globally. In fact, Friday, when we launched the super early bird passes, it was, I think, sold in less than 5 minutes. So we're very excited to see that everybody wants to come back to an in-person format, and where we just eagerly look forward to meeting everybody once again in person and talking to all of you.
Yeah, this is great. Actually, all these winners gonna be presenting on the stage, and that's super exciting. And looking forward, all of you to join, and we want to see you and meet in person, all of us.
Yes, it's time to celebrate good design.
Great.
Yep.
At the same time, we also want to thank our partners, Unstop, Happening Design Studio, Humo Design School, and UXN for supporting through their resources, publicizing this contest, helping us in all the process and all the way. And also we thank our mentors and jurors, and thank you, Wilma. I think Pranav, Udit, you are in different time zones, and I'm sure it's too late for you. Thank you so much for being with us. Rohan, anything you want to?
One thing I just want to add, and guys, we also want to thank our superheroes who are behind the stage. They are not shown, they are not coming on this. Correct. They are people who actually made this happen. They really worked on all the videos you see, all these, lot of curation actually, lot of coordination with all of you guys, and all these emailers, newsletters, whatever you're saying. That's all fantastic work with our team, and we are really proud of them. And thank you guys for all your support. Anything else, Bapu, you want to add?
No, it's absolutely. I think this all happened. It's been 20 years. This UMO Design Foundation has been running with the help of with volunteers. So thanks a lot. Without them, it's not possible to move ahead at all. So though we are at different continents and different time zones, the team is intact and helping us a lot. I think now we're immediately all the team members, volunteers to want to continue with the upcoming event, UX India 2022. That's another so much of hard work we have to put together as a team, and also as mentors, actually, thank all the mentors and jurors for their support, and also the sponsors who've been sponsoring the event to make it happen. Thanks a lot. And yeah, let's Rohan, let's conclude it.
Yeah, that's all, folks. That's a wrap for this multi-week journey that we've all been on. DesignX Social 2022 is concluding today. Congratulations once again to all the winners, and a great thanks to all of you who've been supporting us. We will see you all soon at UX India 2022 in November at Hyderabad. Have a great day, have a great weekend, and we will all see you soon. Thank you.
Renaissance, the explosion of information, art, innovation, and the thirst for knowledge. Are you listening? Are you observing? As you're watching this, there are numerous explosions of mind-blowing creativity, of art, of knowledge, and of life itself. Every day is a huge explosion event of information. Introducing UX India 2022, the dive and exploration of technology's renaissance.